So we've had a general discussion around the table, and we've decided that this was probably a late night typo error. That in fact, when we read, each body is a world for itself and has specific problems, as illustrated by, and we're going to cross out the word closing, or we can change that with the word forward shape of the directional reading mark. So this is a word that's going to push us forward into what's going to go on beyond this, but likely be connected to what has come before. And again, for consistency with what we've been learning up until now, we're going to decide that is, in fact, a typo or an unintentional use of the word closing. Each body, so all the souls are going to have their own inputs and outputs, and each one of those is going to define their own individual world of justice, if you will, based on the inputs and outputs of that particular creature. Chaya, living, number 11. This is a tipcha, this is a closing note. This is going to tell us that we are connected to what's come before us, and it's going to pause slightly afterwards. Manifestation of living create difficulty for everyone, and they must be overcome, as conveyed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So we had said that each being, each one of us, has tests that are put in front of us, and those tests are based on Ba'asher Husham, in the very place where you are at that moment. God gives you things that allows you to use your personal ability to have choice, to be in that situation where you do have the ability to overcome whatever the challenge is, and yet it's never necessarily something that's easy, but you do have the tools to deal with it. And because you are living, because you have this bechira chofshit, because you have this freedom of choice, the difficulties that come your way are things that your having life is going to be something that you're going to be put into that situation for. Asher, so this has a munach, this is separated from what's come before and is going to put us into a new reality that goes after it. That, number 12. And we'll come back to the note in a second. Thus, the fears and hesitations that emerge after the flood shall totally disappear, as demonstrated by the shape of the related reading mark. And it's not he related to reading mark, it's the related reading mark. So again, was a late night that we're doing this sentence. We see that the world afterwards is completely different from the world before because of this covenant that God is making with us. And we're just going to go back to the note. Kol nefesh chaya, each body living, meaning each body has its own form of living, feeling, and psychology, as understood by lo tikach em al banim and lo tacharosh b'shor v'chamor yachdav. So we have the fact that each animal is separate, both in its way of living and its way of thinking from others. So when you have two birds, a mother bird and a baby bird, those two have different needs and different goals in life. So you have to decide if you're only going to eat one of them, which is going to be the more cruel one to take. So you have to think and put yourself into their situation before you make a choice like that, i.e. not to abandon a helpless child without its mother. Rather, if you're going to have the choice between taking the baby bird or the mother bird, you take the baby bird first. Why? Because the mother bird can continue to survive and continue to thrive afterwards, whereas if you kill the mother, then the baby is definitely going to die, and it's going to die in the harshest of ways, and that's going to be your fault and your consequence, and you have to have thought of that before you decide that you are going to make a choice which one you're going to take, which one you're going to eat. Lo tachrosh b'shor v'chamor yachdav. Similarly, there are some animals that, if you put them to work next to each other, are invariably going to harm one another or be unkind to one another. So again, you have to think of their mind, their feeling, their psychology when you're dealing with them. You can't just blindly say, well, I need both animals to work. I'm just going to put them together and let them fight it out if they have to. And we're going to continue on. Itchem, with you. This is at the etnachta. So again, you notice underneath the kaf, there is that stabilizing note that has a good stable base and perhaps something pointing up from it. Is a major pause in the sentence. Itchem, with you. Number 13. The depressions and restrictions of the animals which originated from their conditions in the ark when they were with you shall fade away as depicted by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So the nature of animals and the nature of conflict between animals was different on the ark than it was in the pre-flood era, and that it will be in the post-flood era, and that ability to serve you will be the new condition that is created in the post-flood world. Number 14, lidorot tipcha. So this is again a note that sweeps us backwards, includes everything that's come before, and then pauses slightly afterwards. 4 generations. The treaty shall be beneficial for generations which will arrive later, after the sad experience is forgotten and the bad memories have been erased, as referred to backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So the generations that are going to come long after the circumstance of the flood, the circumstance of the Mabul, and yet they'll still benefit from everything that this treaty imposes on the world afterwards. Olam, eternally, number 15. So again, remember that the Dorot has a pause after it, so the concept of things that are going to be going on forever is sort of standing by itself, and it's going to be a stabilizing influence. Because of the extent of the treaty, it shall eternally afford a spiritual lift and sense of confidence to humans and animals alike. So the deal is sort of going to stand alone as the new reality from here on in, and that is going to be a stabilizing influence that is there forever and separated out from any particular generation, any particular animal, any particular human being. So again, that pause between the Dorot and Olam tells us something that word Olam, world or eternally, forever, means something different than we would find in any other parish that we would read, because the word again stands alone. And we'll read the sentence out loud. Vayomer Elokim Zot ot habrit asher ani notein beini uveinechem uvein kol nefesh chaya asher ichem ledorot olam. And maybe do one more sentence. Breshit Pasuk Gimel 9:13. Et Kashti. This is a Zakef Gadol, so it's a little bit unclear there. What this note looks like is two dots with a separating line after it. So it's going to tell us that there's more than one and possibly multiple things that are being denoted by this reading mark. with my bow, number one. I will verify that treaty with my bow, with the rainbow, which will extend over two extremes of the horizon in connection with any short-lasting rainfall, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark. So what you got is the two ends of the rainbow are designated by the two dots here. So the part that's going up and the part that's going down, i.e. God promising us something and us getting something in return. So remember, we separated out that pashta, which looks like the upper going half of the rainbow. So we can sort of conceptualize the rainbow as God giving us the ability to look up and us knowing that something will come down because we've done that. And those two extremes, i.e. the two dots that are in the Zakef Gadol, are going to be something that's going to be there with even a small amount of rain, something that separates out our lack of confidence from our ability to draw confidence from here on in. Natati tivcha, I gave. This note is going to focus us backwards and slightly pause afterwards. Number two, by that, I gave a reminder of the tragic event which occurred, as indicated by the directional shape of the reading mark. Because it's going to be something that is influenced by rain and by water, we're still going to have the sense of, oh, water could have come and destroyed the whole world here, but no, it is something that is going to be only limited and sustaining and appropriate to our personal circumstance, not something that's generalized and going to affect the whole world. Be'anan, on the cloud. So this is that stabilizing at Nachka, the note in the middle of the sentence that tells us there's a stable base and possibly something that goes up from there. Number three. However, this sign, which I placed on the cloud in various locations, is not meant to cause panic, but announce the beneficial nature of the recent rainfall, as shown by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So again, the amount of rain that we get is going to be indicative of our particular situation. It is something that we need to read into our life, and it's not going to be something that's generalized, that doesn't have some influence over who we are, where we are, what we're doing, and so on. So it's going to be personalized and stabilizing. Number four, v'haita, and it will be. Again, with a pashta, this note emphasizes the word and draws our attention forward from there into what's going to go on. The position of the rainbow will be visible between the blue sky and the ground, opposite the direction of the sunshine, and it will be a cheerful announcement about the coming sun, a refreshing breeze, an increase in the growth of vegetation, as stressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. Things will be looking up from here.
There you go.
Le'ot, for a sign. This is a munach, part of a zakef katon. So again, this is going to separate us out from what's come before and move us forward into what's going to go from here on in. Therefore, following abrupt heavy summer showers, the rainbow shall serve for a sign of blessing rather than the beginning of a flood, as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. So from here on in, when you see rain, you're not going to worry that the entire world is going to end. Rather, you're going to know that it's something that's going to lead to something else afterwards. Brit, of a treaty. This is a katon, so this is those two dots on top of the resh. So we're going to know that this note is going to tell us that there's two things that this word is going to signify. Of a treaty. The appearance and location of the rainbow will symbolize the essentials of a treaty, which was effected between up and down, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So the treaty is going to be between heaven and all of those creatures on the earth, and therefore we have both an upper element and a lower element to this treaty that's given, and therefore it gets the katon, it gets the two-part note. Beini, between me, tipcha. So this is going to sweep us backwards into what's come from before, and then pause slightly afterwards. Number 7, between me. Just as it appears on the dome of the sky, so shall it symbolize the first part of the agreement between me above, as suggested by the reverse direction of the reading mark. So again, we're focusing ourselves back on the entire concept of the treaty, which is between heaven, uvein. So the pause that comes after it tells us that we've got sort of a major partner and a minor partner in this deal. So it's not beini uvein merchat tipcha, the two connected together. Rather, God is setting up the new rules. He's sort of the higher partner in the two. And then, by the way, you've got your obligations as well, but God is still running the show here. So it's not an equal partnership with two notes that connect from one to the other. Rather, God's part is standing alone, and then you've got your part. So that's why it's with the tipcha, looking back at the fact that there is a deal, that it's being dictated by God, and you're there, you're separate, you've got your own, you still got to do your part, but you don't get to make the rules, if you will. So very directly implied by the shape of the note and the pause that's after a tipcha. Uvein, and between, this is a mercha, is going to lightly be connected to what's come before, but mostly sweep us forward into what's going to come afterwards. Number 8, however, the descending extremities of the bow shall indicate the obligations of the other parties, and between those who dwell below, as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So again, you're lightly connected to what's come before. You know, God has set the rules, but by the way, you've got your own things that you've got to do, which is exactly what we said with the word before. Haaretz, the earth, number 9, with again the stabilizing sof pasuk. It shall be a visual indication and a reminder that the earth is actually an extension of heaven and deserves to be eternal in relation with the end of the previous sentence. So remember, we ended the last sentence, L'dorot olam, the fact that the world itself is something that, and the rules that happen after the flood are going to be things that continue on. This is going to be a source of stability, and similarly, the earth itself is going to be a symbol of that stability that is going to be made afterwards. Again, for an eternity that comes after the flood, and the two endings of sentences are going to sort of balance each other, are going to give us that sense of stability going forwards. And we have a remark. Although the rainbow was present before, it assumed a symbolic meaning after the flood, being connected with the treaty, the brit that God is making here. Some opinions consider it a sign of tragedy, siman puraniyot, but it conflicts with the indications in the text. While the flood is accompanied by the expressions of tragedy, vayhi hageshem, vayhi hamabul, so we have a concept in Gemara that says a paragraph that is introduced by the phrase vayehi is usually something bad is going to happen afterwards. So vayhi b'mei Achashverosh, it happened in the day of Achashverosh, is a bad thing. Vayhi b'mei Shvat HaShoftim, again the beginning of the story of Ruth, when there's famine and everybody has to leave, that's something bad is going to happen. And the flood similarly is Vayhi hageshem ala haaretz, and the rain was on the land, or Vayehi hamabul, and the flood was. So again, because we've got that Vayehi, we know that this is going to be something bad that's going to happen. The rainbow is associated with expressions of joy. V'haya, v'haita. Similarly, with things that begin with either v'haya or v'haita, we're going to know that something good is going to happen after that. Rather, I would suggest the meaning of Zecher Lefonayot in the sense of the Zohar, Keshet lo atya, a rainbow doesn't come, Ella le'anga al alma, as a warning rather than as a memory of a catastrophe. So it's going to.
Well, the joyous part.
It's going to come to tell you that something good is going to come from here on in, i.e. you've got rain and it's going to be something that's productive and there's going to be something good from here. It's not for you to say, oh my God, we could have all died. So it's not to bring you to that conclusion. It's to bring you to the conclusion that God is now giving you rain, which is going to be limited, which is going to be productive, which is going to be useful, which will match your situation and your needs, hopefully.
Or can it perhaps be understood another way, which is the keshet is coming as a warning? Better that we get a warning of a catastrophe to correct our ways early rather than go full-fledged into the bad place and therefore earn the greater punishment. So in other words, the joyous part is we've been given a warning early to correct our ways. Exactly.
And that matches what the Zohar says. And we'll read the sentence, and we're going to notice that the rainbow at Kashti with my bow, that's going to stand alone. And we're going to notice the pause between Beini uvein haaretz. That God is senior partner here, and while we've still got responsibilities here, we're sort of separated out from that level that God is at. Et kashti natati ba'anan v'haita leot berit beini uvein haaretz. And we can do one more sentence, or are we all tired? We can do one more sentence. We are on page 83, Reshitet of Genesis 9, Pasuk 14, Yudalid. V'haya, so again, we're going to begin with another Zaket Gadol. So there's going to be that three-part note, the two dots in the straight line. So it's going to tell us that there's a separation, but also that there's multiple things being implied by this word. After the emergence of the rainbow, and it will be followed by a notable appreciation in relation with the beginning of the previous sentence, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark. So what we're doing here is we're noticing that there's sort of some poetry going on. We've got stabilizing influences of the word olam and haaretz at the end of a sentence, and then we've got, so both of those come with a sof pasuk, and now we've got et kashti in the previous sentence with my rainbow, and v'haya, and it will be, both with the same note. So we're going to say that what happened in that sentence is again what's happening here after the emergence of the rainbow, and it will be followed by notable appreciation. We're going to say that the rainbow is going to tell you that good things are going to be coming from here on in. So, and it will be that there will be good things from here on in. There was a previous situation, there's the potential of bad, there's the promise of good, and it's going to be different after the rain than it was before. So again, the line separating out, and the two dots, and the consequence of possibly good, possibly bad, possibly warning, possibly ability for us to take the situation to heart and make things better afterwards.
Jack, just because it's not clear, because it's so small, the line and the two dots, are they the same size
Like
as
this?
it was before?
Yeah.
Oh, it is, okay.
Mhm.
See, on this one it looks like
So
it's
the
the other
same
way
as
around.
at Kashti, the
But it
same
is-
note that's on the previous sentence
Right,
is the same note that's here.
okay, it's just hard to see.
Be'anani with a mercha. So this is a note that's likely connected to what's come before, but mostly sweeping us forward into what's going to come afterwards. By my clouding, number 2. So you have to turn the next page. By my clouding and shielding of a hot sun, a beneficial result will be enjoyed, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So even clouds will have a beneficial effect. You don't want to be out there in the hot day and in the middle of the summer, and clouds will give you some relief from that. But they will also be perhaps something that foreshadows the coming of rain, a good productive rain, which will lead to a rainbow, which again will tell you that forces in this world don't have to be destructive, don't have to be generalized and not understandable based on your situation. Anan, a cloud, tipcha, so this is a note that's going to focus us back on what's come before and slightly pause afterwards. Number 3, although a cloud may look dark and heavy, it should not constitute a cause for concern, as stressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So again, these are all PTSD sufferers. They've all gone through literally the ending of everything that they knew from before, and a new set of rules that's going to come afterwards. So they need reassurance that seeing a cloud is not something that you should have prepared for, you could have prepared for, because everything is going to end with no explanation that you can find in yourself and in your actions, i.e. the collective type of punishment that there was before the flood. So when you see a cloud, you can say, oh, well, I didn't do anything to deserve, therefore I can go on from here. Al haaretz, over the land, and this is an etnacha, again that stabilizing influence in the middle of the sentence, possibly with something looking up from it. Not only shall it serve as an umbrella to protect from the sun on a hot day, we're talking about clouds, but it shall also carry blessing over the land with regard to productivity, as denoted by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So if your crops sit out there in the hot sun, they dry out and the land dries out. So every so often to have clouds over your land is actually something that's very good, is something that is natural and healthy for the productivity of your fields as well. Vinir ata, this is a mecha, this is a note that's going to likely be connected to what's before, but mostly sweep us forward into what's going to come afterwards. And it will appear, number 5, at a time of intense heat, a dark cloud along with a heavy summer shower shall bring relief, and it will appear as a heavenly blessing, as suggested by the directional shape of the reading mark. Again, you have great fear of rain in the hearts of every person who's alive at this point, and possibly the animals as well. And we're getting reassurance that the next time you see a dark cloud, it is not going to be the end of everything. And in fact, you can read heavenly blessing and things that are good that are going to come forward out of this. Hakeshet, number 6, the rainbow, the bow. Tipcha, so this is a closing note. It's going to focus us on what's come before and pause slightly afterwards. The bow, which may frequently emerge at that time, will monitor the near sunshine as expressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So the fact that a rainbow comes out will give you closure on the fact that that rain that just came was not in fact a world-ending event, and that the sun is going to come out and things will continue as promised afterwards. And again, there's a pause after the tipcha, so be'anan, on the cloud, is going to stand by itself as a stabilizing influence. Number 7, on the cloud, there shall then appear a colorful announcement that no flood has been intended. So even having the idea of having clouds in the future should not bring apprehension, should not bring back that fear that a world-consuming flood is going to come. Rather, clouds should be a sense of promise, a sense of something good that's going to happen afterwards. And therefore, they will be a stabilizing influence, not a destabilizing force. And we will read the sentence. Vehaya be'anani anan al haaretz v'nirata hakeshet be'anan. And perhaps we're going to emphasize the fact that in the first half of the sentence, the cloud is something that ends the phrase, but we still have the stabilizing influence of the land afterwards. And then in the second half of the sentence, the cloud itself becomes, by merit of the promise, the stabilizing and influence for future blessing, all in and of itself.